Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the second conversation that we're having in celebration of Black History Month. Today, we'll be discussing the importance of diversity and inclusion in the fitness industry. I'm Dr. Cedric Bryant. I'm the President and Chief Science Officer here at the American Council on Exercise, and I'll be serving as the host and moderator for our discussion. And I have the pleasure of being joined by two longtime ACE certified professionals. Ewunike Akpan and Alex McLean have agreed to graciously join and share some insights with us. Ewunike is an owner of a fitness center called LOTUS Fitness, and she's been an ACE certified personal trainer since 1999. In addition, she's been quite involved in the BOX program, which delivers physical activity experiences and programs to youth who are in communities that have limited access to such opportunities. Alex is an international presenter, and he serves as a master trainer for some of the most recognized brands in our space. Stairmaster, Schwinn, BOSU are examples of those brands that he serves as a master trainer for. And we have the pleasure of having Alex be an ACE certified group fitness instructor and personal trainer since about 2008. So thank you both for joining us. Let's get started and dive right in with some questions here. And we'll start with, in your opinions, what does the makeup of the fitness industry look like today in terms of diversity and inclusion? And we'll start with you, Ewunike.
Oh, thank you, Cedric. I'm glad to be here and join this conversation. The makeup of the industry is a lot more diverse now than I think it ever has been. Having been in this industry for like 22 years now, I can clearly recall being, and I started my introduction to fitness professionally was in Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. is historically known as Chocolate City. So I actually started training at the YMCA and at Washington Sports Club. So at both of those facilities, the demographics are pretty diverse at the time, but the overall industry, I remember shortly after becoming certified in 1999, I went to a fitness conference. I was like, let me just jump right in and get this education and really, really immerse myself in this new interest of mine. At the time, it was strictly an interest. It had not become a business. And I went to Miami to the ACE, to the ECA conference. And I felt like out of thousands of people in attendance that I was maybe one of 3 Black people at the time. And so this was a conference where there were major presenters. And so that's attendees and presenters. And so since that time, I have seen a serious change, if you will, in the people who are not only participants, but also those that are like Alex, who are presenting at those type of conferences for the industry.
Thank you, Alex. You have some things to add?
Yeah, yeah. When we look at the fitness industry from a broad perspective, it does appear to be diverse and inclusive. But as we start to narrow the focus, we see that some segments are more diverse than other segments. I compare the fitness industry to a building. And the first floor of the building has the highest traffic because it has the most amount of entry points. It could have 2 to 3 double doors on all 4 walls. And then if your goal is to go upstairs, you really only have 3 options: the stairs, the escalator, and the elevator. The fitness industry is exactly the same thing. And the ground floor, we have the most amount of people, whether they're group fitness, personal trainers, yoga, Pilates, sports and conditioning, and all the other segments in a fitness arena. And that is our largest population. So you're going to see the most diversity at that ground level. However, as you start to go upstairs and you look at managerial roles, positions on brand education teams, and corporate positions, there we notice that the diversity drastically goes down.
Thanks, Alex. That's an interesting word picture you just painted for us. If you both could be so kind as to briefly share your unique personal journeys and experience in the fitness industry as it relates to our topic for today. And why don't we start with you, Alex?
Yeah, so the expression art imitates life couldn't apply more because racism and stereotypes have filtered into the fitness industry. For example, I've been called the N-word by members at different locations and different facilities multiple times. There have been people with less experience than me who have made more money than me and have more opportunities. I've been on auditions for instructor roles where I am pigeonholed at the audition into dance and rhythm-based formats, even though my resume clearly shows that I teach a variety of formats. I remember teaching or taking over a 6 a.m. indoor cycling class. I'd only been at this facility maybe 2 months. And the first thing this participant said as soon as she walked into the door was, "We don't listen to rap music." And at that point, I was like, woo, hold up. Like, what do you do at that point? Because you're kind of in, I was in shock. I was taken aback and I wasn't sure what to do. Do I let it slide or do I attack it head on? And of course, you know, being from the corporate, you always want to be the hero in the moment through customer service. And I told her, I said, you know, thank you for your input. The playlist for today has variety from Motown to rock, from disco to today. But the more I was speaking to her, the more annoyed I got and the angrier I got. So I just asked her, I said, you know, since I'm new here and I want to learn, what prompted you to think that my playlist would be more rap music? And I asked, you know, did the previous instructor play rap? Did the other 6 a.m. people play rap? So I want you to help educate me on why you asked me that question or why you told me that. And there have been other situations where, especially for the past year, where I've had lots of contact with people who are looking for me to be the Black perspective on certain topics. And I always go back to Denzel Washington, where he said, yes, I am Black. It's part of my culture, it's part of my heritage. However, being Black is a piece of my whole being and is not the foundation from which I answer every question.
Great, thank you for that, Alex. Ewunike.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on what Alex said. I can relate to being described as within the fitness facility arena as the Black instructor. Not even being identified as the instructor of the particular class that I teach, but the Black instructor, you know, or the Black, you know, girl who teaches this class. And that to me says a couple of things, that there is then only one for them to be able to identify me as such, so that everyone knows who they're talking about, which is a problem, that there is only one Black instructor there in this large fitness facility. And that, you know, just being singled out like that, it usually was not done so in a positive way, or for a positive reason, I should say. And I have also felt, as Alex, that there has been a, in certain situations with teaching classes, because yes, I have my own business and I quickly, you know, decided to go in an entrepreneurial route in this fitness industry. But I started off wanting to build community within the Y, within the Washington Sports Club. That's where I got my training, my foundation, and I would not be the trainer that I am today without that. But within that environment, it has not always felt so comfortable for me, whether it's working one-on-one with clients who are primarily persons not of color. And I am there to learn. Obviously, as a personal trainer, we have the opportunity to learn about, you know, people with so many, who are coming to you with so many different levels of fitness, different injuries, or need help in so many different type of ways. And so we come completely open to finding out as much information as possible into how do I help this person? What specifically can I use of my knowledge base to help you win? But when there's a wall, when there's a barrier from the first meeting because that person doesn't trust me, I've felt from and have experienced at certain gyms to be reassigned, if you will, to clients, because from the first meeting, they just didn't trust me. And that was without having taken a look at what my experience working with clients was whatsoever, or giving it a try. Not everyone is going to have the same connection with each other. When it comes to training, you get very intimate, of course, and personal with someone. So that's important that that person does trust you. But I've experienced on more than one occasion that I was not even given that chance. So, that's something that I've carried with me, as well as it has taken place only in instances when, again, that person was not of color.
You both have you've touched on something that I'd like to dig a little bit deeper in the examples that she gave, where you have those occasions and experiences where you're kind of taken aback. Are you going to play rap music? The notion that someone may not trust you just based upon, your appearance and specifically your skin color. I guess for the benefit of those in the audience, if you might be able to provide some kind of practical tips or just ideas in terms of how one might effectively navigate that with the intention of helping everyone to learn and grow. Because I love, Alex, how in your instance you talked about asking some questions of that woman as a way to hopefully bring about some reflection on her part, so that there could be some learning and growing that could occur. Do you have other kind of tips or suggestions for folks when they encounter those kind of surprise encounters?
I think the way you approach it is by making sure it's a win-win for everybody, because I think people will feel defensive if you attack them. Because I think as a person of color, when that microaggression comes to you, when you're in shock, there's the, do I let it go? Or you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not gonna let it go. And trying to find that balance without, it's all on my face, without showing it on my face. So I think asking questions helps, because it really helped her to reframe and to really question what her bias was and why she asked what she did. Had I not asked her at that point, what was interesting in that situation, one of the other 6 a.m. instructors came and took that class. So always hindsight is better. And I'm like, had I not approached her, what are other ways I could have done it? I could have asked him, because she's in the front row, hey, when you took over a class, did you play rap music? And he's of course gonna say, no. And I said, oh, was that your choice? Or were you told not to play it? And of course he's gonna say, no, it's my choice. And then I would have followed up saying, great, so the education that you learned in your training allows you to read the people, and it's about the customers and members in your room and how you can use the class to connect with them to create change. That's the other way. I think I could have handled that situation, but I think it's always make it a situation where it is a win-win for everyone, so there's no defense mechanisms up.
Ewunike, do you have anything to add?
I would just point out that within this space of fitness, it's all about, we were talking earlier, just about relationship building. And when meeting someone new, whether that's one-on-one as a personal trainer or in front of a group exercise class, I have found it to be helpful to immediately try to start relating to those that I'm in front of by sharing with them some of my own personal experiences that maybe relate to where they are, their interest, or maybe something that they're pursuing, whether it be a weight loss goal or a fitness goal that they have. But then also as a professional who is in the position to help them to achieve that goal, sharing with them what I have done and the results of other clients. Honestly, that's it. Just as we say, like showing your receipts, right? I mean, we have to do that, whereas others may not be required to, because there's an already assumed bias that that maybe we don't know as much, or that we don't have as much experience, or are not going to be as thorough, if you will, and our work definitely requires thoroughness. Then you kind of just have to kind of lead a lot of times with what you know and what your experience is. And that's kind of just the way it is.
Thank you. Kind of getting back to Alex's, I think, wonderful word picture in terms of the building, kind of related and building on that, why do you think it's important to have more representation in the fitness industry? And I'll say more representation on all floors, using Alex's building analogy. Alex, why don't you start us?
Yeah, I think it's important at lots of different levels and different viewpoints. From a business standpoint, if we start to look at other industries, companies that have more diverse and inclusive environments make more money. And fitness is a business, so we need to make sure that we create the spaces where people are valued and they feel appreciated. From an employee standpoint, for employees that work for those corporations, their morale is a lot higher. They're more engaged. They bring unique and new experiences to the table. And those experiences start to spark creativity and innovation that would never happen if they didn't have a seat at the table. Now, from the consumer standpoint or the end user, we know that people love to support and interact with businesses that employ people who look just like them. So it's a great way to build customer loyalty, customer support, and it's also going to positively impact the brand. So for fitness, we need to look at ways on how can we maintain or increase the levels of diversity on that ground floor by increasing the access or by decreasing the barriers of entry. Now, to get to the top floors, we need to create avenues that allow for that upward mobility so that we can increase the diversity in those in more senior level and upper management type roles.
Thank you. Ewunike?
And that was such a thorough answer. I'll just say that as a participant in fitness, a fitness enthusiast, as well as a trainer and instructor, that whenever I would walk into a room and see an Alex presenting to me, I would immediately feel that much more empowered to connect with the information, to learn the information. And it is always, and still is, still a, not what I'm going to assume to be the case when I go for continuing education courses or classes or workshops, that I will see myself on the stage. And so I think that as an industry, it's very important that we start to elevate those like myself that are really excited about being in this industry. We just love fitness and want to learn more and to present to others, to have the opportunities to do that, because then we will see that there will be more participants that look like us because they see more people who are teaching them. And again, that also then goes up to management. And I feel like I was kind of in a bubble initially within this industry, being in Washington, D.C. at the Y. Most of the participants were, the members were Black, the instructors were diverse. The person who sat me down and explained to me the difference between personal training and group exercise and, you know, what the certifications was Black. But as I've traveled outside of DC, I have not seen that. And even the close suburbs to Washington, D.C., where I've gone and I've worked, and in Maryland and Virginia, I've seen a completely different landscape within the larger, especially the larger fitness centers. And Alex spoke at the very beginning of our conversation just about kind of like the segments of fitness and how some of them have more diversity than others. I think we need to, have more representation in the wellness industries, in the yoga, in the Pilates. I've always felt, and I do not teach those formats, but I practice them, that I am somewhat, out of my lane, even just being in a studio to take a yoga class it's changed somewhat since I first started, for sure. And social media has done a tremendous job on bringing about more awareness to everyone about just all these wonderful practices. And there have been some great Black and brown fitness, influencers, if you will, who are practicing some of everything. But that wasn't the case when we first got started. And so we still have a lot of work to do, I think, across the whole industry.
Great, thank you. So kind of building on something that I think you both alluded to, is that there's a lot of value in having representation, and there's a lot of value in seeing people, organizations, brands doing it well or doing it right. Can you perhaps provide us with some examples of some organizations or brands, in your opinion, that are making positive strides toward making our industry more diverse and inclusive?
Alex, why don't you start, since you work for some of the larger brands that I look up to.
All right, well, we will do that.
Yeah, so I think all brands right now are really trying to focus in on how to attack the diversity issue and to present themselves in the best light. What steps are they doing better? I think right away is their marketing is now more diverse and representative of their consumer base, especially the marketing that is company produced. The great thing now is we have social media. And so it's a great way to see the users of your product and your service. So now those brands can tap into the social media and find diverse users and help highlight them on their social media channels. There are other brands like Balanced Body who have created a task force of both internal employees and outdoor experts to evaluate the situation, create a plan, and then more importantly, act on that plan. And all companies are now being a lot more intentional in their hiring processes. So they're looking at ways to, again, help lower the barriers of entry. Some are creating scholarships to help cover the cost of certifications and continuing education. They're working with candidates to prepare career development plans and also help with job placements. They've also established mentorship programs so that mentor can be a sounding board for the candidate as they go through the process. In terms of conferences and stereotypes right now, they're being more proactive and looking for people of color to be subject matter experts in areas that traditionally we were not a part of, such as business building, brand development, and scientific development.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Ewunike, anything to add?
I still feel as though I'm waiting to see there be more of a trend of it being not like, on the magazine covers, for instance, using celebrities as representations of wellness and fitness is not motivating for me in the industry, is not showing me that this is someone who is really committed to wellness and fitness, or a teacher, they're a celebrity. They probably have a fitness trainer, and I don't even know if that fitness trainer looks like them. So what I think I'm still waiting for, and since this summer, since the unrest that we have, after the murder of George Floyd, and lots of companies, we saw it all around the world, make huge promises to Black Lives Matter, and that they were going to change the culture, and that without the Black community, they would not even exist. I'm waiting for their commitments to come to fruition, if you will, honestly. And they had, really great statements that they would put out on social media. And so I'm really looking for that momentum to continue, and for the representation that they had in their advertising, in their experts that they send out, that, that they just use as their average face of the business, to change. And so I'm hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful that they will stay committed to what they said, that they saw was important, and that they are going to do.
That is well stated. And boy, I tell you, 30 minutes flies by when you're having an engaging conversation. But there are a couple things that you both hit upon. There are really kind of two words that I think are important takeaways for all of us. And one is being intentional, or intentionality, and the other is commitment. And I think both are required if we're really going to see any real meaningful, consistent progress when we talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. Because to your point, Ewunike, it's easy to make a statement, to make a donation, however eloquent that statement might be, but it really requires some real intention and commitment to truly make a change. And I'd like to thank you both for giving of your time to come and share these insights with the audience. I thank all the listeners for joining us and spending some time, hopefully as we all kind of learn and grow together. And I'd like to leave us with a quote from Rosa Parks, where it says, "To bring about change, you must not be afraid to make the first step." And I think one of the things that has inhibited progress in this area is that oftentimes we're afraid to make that first step because we either believe we don't know what to say, or we might offend someone. We've got to get over that. We've got to be willing to get outside of our comfort zones and make that first step, and then continue that process of stepping forward and really bringing about this change that is so needed, that's going to benefit us all. And you think about us in the fitness space, what do we tell people who are unaccustomed to exercise? Just take that first step. It's the same thing with this topic. So we thank you all for, again, joining us, and we can make some big change together. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.